Oh no. It had to be this one.
It's often said that movie 3 has more in common with movie 1. This is true in some areas, as you see Stark dealing with PTS from when he entered the wormhole in New York towards the end of the events of the first Avengers movie, and to dealing with the threat of the Mandarin, who is supposedly connected with the 10 rings from the first movie.
I did enjoy how Stark was taken out of his comfort zone, where he doesn't have all his tools and gadgets and is left to make do with everyday items from Walmart and make equipment effectively from that.
But what annoyed me about this flick was the reveal of the Mandarin. Despite Ben Kingsley selling his performance like a boss, the reveal was not only disrespectful, but just made the character a joke. I appreciate that in modern times the writers were aware they could not go for the traditional approach for the Mandarin, but even then, something more respectful could have been better than Trevor.
And for a movie about Iron Man, he's hardly in it. This is the same problem I had with The Dark Knight Rises, where it's supposed to be about Batman, but Batman's only in it for about 30 minutes. What the heck?
Another issue that I have is with how haphazard the Mark 42 suit was. I appreciate that it was just a prototype that could be assembled from anywhere as opposed to Tony's normal method of being sewn into the suit. But taking into account that previous suits have stood up to tank missiles, Thor's hammer, Vanko's electric whips, going toe-to-toe with the Ironmonger, and it can't even handle less hits than that? Ugh.
Robert Downey Jr. was one of the few saving graces of this movie, where he went to much darker places than he did with Iron Man 2, and having to deal with his post-traumatic stress issues and keeping his sanity together so that he could take down a threat to the country. Don Cheadle gave a decent performance for the limited amount of time he was on screen for as the Iron Patriot. And somewhere in the comic universe, Norman Osborn is calling a foul. Just like everyone else. As ever, Don's always good to watch as the straight man to Tony's comic. Gwyneth put in a decent performance as Pepper, who is struggling to deal with Tony's issues from New York and how he spends his nights making more suits in the garage and constantly tinkering with the Mark 42 suit. And that thing was so haphazard it kept falling apart. I grant it was a prototype, but seriously? Brian Tyler assumed composing duties for the third installment, and I think he made this movie feel a lot darker and more tense than compared with the previous two. Weta Digital took over from ILM in the visual effects department, and boy oh boy did they ever go to town with this movie. The suit not only looked more photoreal than ever, but to see 40 plus suits on screen was just breathtaking. This is one of the few areas that the movie does not fail in, as the same can be said for the extremis effects.
Despite having some decent performances along with eye-popping visual effects, Iron Man 3 is by far the weakest of the series. I know it took in $1.2 billion worldwide, but that to me does not cover up the fact that it was a less than polished final product for the movie, as the writing needed some major attention, as again, the Mandarin reveal was just a joke and did a disservice for the movie.
I wouldn't call this movie a train wreck, but it was far from the quality that had been established in the first movie 5 years prior to this. And I want you to digest this. The only saving graces of Iron Man 3 was Robert Downey Jr. and the suits. Iron Man 3 gets a modest loner. Thanks for enjoying Iron March, and I'll see you again next time. Good night from the night.